What a nice long break that was. I still feel like it was too short, you know? I was really dreading last night. You know, what are they called? The Sunday scaries? Last night I was just depressed. I'm like, I got another work week to look forward to. But luckily enough, we're going to be off on Thursday. So yeah, there's that. And then also in a couple of weeks, I'll be going back home to California. My girlfriend reminded me last night that today would have been the day that we took off to go back to my home, go see my parents, my sister, everybody. We looked at ticket prices for this particular week, December 29th to January 2nd, or maybe January 5th. Yeah, January 5th. The ticket prices by themselves were $700 without even wanting to upgrade our seats, without even paying for a carry-on, anything of that sort. The week after Christmas, trying to book a trip, or even just trying to book a trip for Christmas, absolutely awful. You're better off just driving to where you need to go. I mean, $700 plus like $90 per person for a carry-on, plus there's so many other fees. It would have been utterly ridiculous. So we ended up buying tickets for mid-January, that ended up being like $200 for the both of us. So much cheaper. So much cheaper, even though the weather is probably going to be worse and I'm going to be very anxious the entire time, dreading every bit of snow falling to the ground. But what's it called? I'm going to be optimistic, hopefully optimistic, not necessarily anxious. If it gets delayed, oh well. I'm very, very sad to see the snow finally fall. I was very happy. I was one of the very few people happy online that there wasn't any snow, that it was kind of warm still. It wasn't all that bad. Today has been awful. Today is that reminder that this time of year just sucks. You know, I don't care for those people that say, I want the snow to be here. You know, the people that post on Life in Idaho Falls, but where's the snow? I guess that got posted enough times to the point where the snow finally showed up. So congratulations to them. Anyway, the K-Bear studio is also back up and running. For the most part, I can answer the phones too. So if you want to give me a call for any reason, let me know at 20, or just call in. Well, why let me know? Just call in at 208-535-1015. On Friday, we announced a giveaway for one of the biggest concerts of the year, and it's very early on in the year. Bad Omens, Beartooth, and President at the Delta Center in Salt Lake City, February 22nd. Victor and I were looking at resale floor ticket prices. They're $6,000. People are trying to resell their floor seats for. So, yeah, not floor seats, just the pit area was like $6,000 for one ticket. So, if you want to win these tickets, I don't think they're going to be in the pit. I think they're going to be seated, but still, you get to go to one of the best shows of 2026, and it's only in February. It's coming up fast. Bad Omens, Beartooth, and President at the Delta Center. Listen for the Bad Omens sounder. Victor played it once this morning. It'll be very obvious when you hear it. Be caller 20 when you hear the sounder at 208-535-1015 in order to win tickets to that show, which I'll give away a pair at some point this afternoon before 7 p.m. We'll have some more crap to talk about here in just a few. Some Christmas recap, some funny stuff that happened right here on Peach's Pit Party on K-Bear 101. There's nothing like having to share what size clothes you are with others. I've talked about it previously that we did a little shirt exchange with my girlfriend's family, and I was the only one who needed that many X's in my size. I was hearing large, medium, I was hearing some kid sizes, and then it comes to me, and I go, I'm a 3XL tall. Luckily, I'm not a 3XLB, which is just big and it's too much cloth. But I feel like soon I'll be getting to that size with how bad I ate during that Christmas break, especially. My shirt boxes are like pizza boxes. This flannel that I'm wearing today, which I know you can't see, what was a gift from my girlfriend's parents. They didn't get me a 3XLT. They went one size above. They got 4XLT. And I seriously wonder what the cashier at JCPenney thought when ringing this up. Which, by the way, big shout out to them for having the big and tall section with actually stylish clothing. I also got to give a huge shout out to Shaq for having his Shaquille O'Neal extra large line of clothing, because he knows exactly what it's like firsthand to struggle shopping for clothes. I go to these different stores and I go to their 3XL men's section and they have one shirt, and that shirt is not 3XL. It was just wrongly put in that section. I do love how big and tall sections also, they always put, the big and tall section is always me and a bunch of fat dudes all wearing the same size. I'm like a foot taller than them, but we're all wearing the same size t-shirt. It's also dangerous, though, wearing these big shirts because most of the time they are extra loose. And then I think it's okay to get $20 worth of food at Taco Bell. I go, oh, you know what? I'm feeling good about myself today. I'll get that extra chalupa, also with a bucket of soda. Pretty soon, I will be squeezing into a 4XLB if I'm not careful. I'm trying to find a question for To Peach Their Own that isn't stereotypical. I exclude To Peach Their Own 99% of the time from the Peach's Pit Party podcast version of the show, since most of the time I'll ask a question and then nobody calls in, or maybe like one person calls in and it's that same person for 3 shows in a row, and I don't necessarily want to release an episode of the podcast where it ends with me asking the question and then nothing after that. It's just the outro to the show. I'm seeing a lot of different radio stations today asking the same stereotypical questions like, when is it okay to take down your Christmas decorations? For me, I took that crap down right after the holiday. I did that on the 27th. The reason why I didn't do it on the 26th is because Aubrey and I spent the entire day at her parents' house celebrating her birthday. The creepy elf that I had bought from Ross for $20, $20 well spent, by the way. I love that creepy elf. He unfortunately went back into the box for next year. Everything went back into the Christmas tote box that I have in my closet. I still have not decided a name for that elf. I kept calling him Roland, based off of what the Classy 97 creepy elf is named, but I can't just copy and paste their elf's name to mine. They still have all of their Christmas crap up in the studio, too, in Classy 97. They have the mic arms all wrapped up with ribbons, a giant wreath on the studio door, those tiny little ornaments hung from the ceiling. The ceilings in this building are not necessarily all that low, and they're not high either. They're about 8-foot high ceilings, I would imagine, just by estimating that by looking at them. But they hung up these ornaments. They call it Peach's deterrent because they're hung up so low that I hit my head on them, which prevents me from walking into the studio to ask Josh some questions here and there. You know, it's kind of silly looking. You can look it up. You can see my video with Josh from Wake Up Classy 97 on our socials at KBear 101 FM. Make sure to download the free KBear 101 app, especially if you're listening to the podcast version of this show and you're wondering, hey, what does his show normally sound like with music beds, with the songs, with the commercials, with everything that KBear has to offer? What does that sound like? Download the KBear 101 app. It's available for iPhone and Android. You can listen to my show. You can listen to Victor's show. You can listen to any part of KBear at any part of the day, as long as you have, I believe, like an internet connection, right? That's how it works. Well, we also send out push notifications via the KBear 101 app every single time we launch a new giveaway, just like how on Friday, well, actually, you know what? That notification sent out today. On Friday, we posted on social media, which, by the way, you should also follow us on there, at KBear 101 FM. Today, we sent out the push notification to listen out for the Bad Omens sounder for the Bad Omens Holiday Hangover. We're calling it that. We're giving away tickets to go see Bad Omens, Beartooth, and President live at the Delta Center on Sunday, February 22nd. It's awesome to have a concert on a Sunday because then you can just take Monday off, call in sick, and you have a shorter work week after that, right? Win tickets with us. These tickets are going for crazy amounts of money. You go to the show for free on us. If you hear that sounder and be caller 20 when you do at 208-535-1015 to win those tickets. On Friday, we'll end this giveaway and move on to something else. Another big concert coming even sooner than the Bad Omens concert on February 22nd. Then also after that, we'll be giving away even more stuff. Pretty much the entire month of January, each week, there's going to be a giveaway, which makes work harder for me because then I have to prepare all the promotions, all the promos, all the different parts of it, all the how we're supposed to conquer each one, how we're taking down people's names and information, so that way we can, send that to not send the names, but maybe send every single winner their tickets as well. Like there's that whole thing I got to do, and I'm taking a week off mid-January, and I still got to make sure all the promotions run correctly. But every single time there's a new promo, we launch a push notification, this is just one long-winded break about why you should download the free KBear 101 app. The Shot Clock Sports Update really sucks this time of year because usually I get a nice little sports report. I talk about what matters really. And, well, the radio prep and everything is shut down this final week of 2025. It just dawned on me that this is the final week of the year. And then we move right on into 2026 from Wednesday night to Thursday. 2026. I was seeing some posts earlier this morning about albums that are turning 10 in 2026, songs that are turning 10 in 2026 next year. Blink-182's California, which I feel like just came out. That was released in 2016. That'll be turning 10 years old next year. Ridiculous. Well, this is the Shot Clock Sports Update with none of the formal prep that I usually get, so I apologize for it. I have to go to TMZ Sports. WNBA star Skylar Diggins. She's been a star in the WNBA for quite some time. She screamed out, "I'm doing everything by myself, just me and my babies." She's reflecting on a drama-filled year, opening up about raising her kids all on her own for more than a year and her divorce from Daniel Smith. I got to say, she probably makes the most money out of all the WNBA players in the league. At one point, she was. And she's venting on Instagram. She vented on Instagram last Sunday, reflecting on the challenges she faced in 2025, expressing pride in how she was able to handle them mostly on her own. And it's like, well, you have a ton of money to pay for a nanny. You're a WNBA star. Even if you don't get paid as nearly as much as NBA stars do, you still got more money than most people, right? You have the assets. You have the people. You have some time in between practices. I don't know. That's just me being. I don't want to make people mad with that. What I just said. I apologize. What else is even on here? There's just a whole bunch of crap. Oh, here we go. Anthony Joshua, who just fought Jake Paul, nearly knocked out by car accident. It was crazy. I saw this news this morning. He was reportedly injured in a deadly car wreck in Nigeria 10 days after he knocked out Jake Paul in the ring. The accident occurred on the congested Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in Ogun State. Was it Ogun State? In southwest Nigeria, way early this morning. Joshua's vehicle collided with his stationary truck, according to media reports. Turns out that people died in this accident. Joshua was a backseat passenger in the vehicle with 3 other people, 2 of whom were killed, according to the reports. So just quite tragic. That's all that needs to be talked about for today's Shot Clock Sports Update right here on K-Barrett 101. It turns out that those Reddit posts that I've seen and talked about on the program before are in fact true about young people not being able to read all that well. Why is it that they can't? Are they just not taught? Did they grow up reading so many acronyms like LOL, ROFL, LMAO that they messed them up? That just messed them up entirely? What is it? We were playing Cards Against Humanity at my girlfriend's family's house, which, big mistake already since, they're not that crazy with their sense of humor as me, to put it lightly. It sucks when you play Cards Against Humanity with a group of people and one of those people has to show you the card they just picked up and they go, "I have no idea what this is." It also sucks when you play it with somebody who just simply can't read. They simply can't read the card you put in the pile, the card you think that's hilarious. It'll certainly make everyone laugh in order for you to win that round. Instead, the judge butchers it, like that guy from Holes that tries sounding out, "The duck swam across the lake." It was only my girlfriend's youngest brother and his date that couldn't read the dang cards. One of the cards involved Al Gore. And of course, I can't say what the card said because, it's radio. He had the audacity to say, A.I. Gore. Then I realized maybe playing with the 2000s nostalgia pack with somebody born in the year 2007 wasn't the best idea. All right, so for that last break, I talked about kids who just simply can't read. It's very weird how almost all of them can't read anything out loud whatsoever. So now, over in New York City, the schools decided to do something radical. They actually banned phones during the school day. No screens, no scrolling, no sneaking a peek at the time on your lock screen every 5 seconds. And guess what that ban revealed? Teachers suddenly realized a whole lot of kids could not read the analog clocks hanging right there on the classroom walls. You know, those old school round clocks with hands instead of numbers on a screen? Those. Apparently, some students have been so glued to their phones for checking the time that when you take that device away, it's like they're looking at hieroglyphics. The minute and hour hands might as well be alien symbols. I mean, think about it. You ban phones, and the first thing half the class does is go, what time is it? Even though there's a clock right there. That's a skill most of us learned in like second grade, but if you never practice it because you always pull out your phone, it might get rusty, or maybe these kids don't even get taught that anymore. I specifically remember those sheets back in second grade. This just brought up a whole memory that I completely forgot about. Those sheets with the clocks, they had no hour or minute hands. It was just, hey, write down or show me what the clock would look like for 10:30 a.m., you know? And then you would have to do it, right? That's something you had to do. We also had to learn cursive, which that right there is not necessarily as meaningful as telling the time from an analog clock. I mean, a lot of those kids now just wear a watch because it looks cool? They wear like one of those stylish watches, but they can't tell the time that the watch shows, or they wear like one of those digital screen watches. That would be funny. Do you see some like Gen Z or Gen Alpha kid looking at their watch going, I wonder what that says. And then they pull out their phone to check the time. So January 1st is coming up very soon, as a matter of fact. And so people's New Year's resolutions are, for the most part, going to be, I need to lose weight. I myself am one of those people, desperately need to do so. I'm not going to put myself on Ozempic or any other weight loss thing that people are doing nowadays. I'm old-fashioned when it comes to exercising and eating right in order to lose weight. That's what you're told to do. It's the healthiest thing to do. I'm not going to inject myself with some needle and all of a sudden rapidly like lose my appetite, not eat, and lose weight that way. I feel like that way is a whole lot worse for you, but I'm not a doctor. So I figured with people that are going to be going to the gym next year, they're going to be going to the gym right as it hits January 1st, I would think, right? I saw this question. What is an unspoken rule of the gym that most people do not know they are breaking? The one thing I highly hated when I would go to the gym all the time is when I would go to the men's locker room and I would just see dudes that are completely naked, walking around with confidence. It was shocking how confident they were with how they looked, too. You know, I'm good for them. Good for them for having that confidence. I wish I did. I take my shirt off at the beach when I go home, and it's like, oh, look, there's one of those, what are those whales called? I'll forget it. But let's look at the top response here. Grab your dumbbells off the rack and walk away. The 3-foot section immediately in front of the dumbbell rack isn't your personal lifting area. You're blocking 8 sets of weights others might need to use. All right, that's a great one. You don't get to claim 5 pieces of equipment at the same time. Yeah, don't be that guy that sets down your water bottle at the rowing machine, and then you're at another machine with your towel, and then your other stuff's at another machine. Just do one machine at a time. If one of those machines is taken up, wait a little bit, you know? What is an unspoken rule of the gym that most people do not know they are breaking? I shouldn't know what music you are listening to. Personal speakers in the gym ain't it. Luckily, I haven't dealt with those. I haven't been to the gym in quite some time, but over the course of how many times I've been to the gym, there's never been one person with that JBL speaker blasting the worst music you've ever heard. It's always the worst music that you hear on the loudest speakers in public places. You ever go to the beach in Southern California, and then you all of a sudden hear that reggaeton, and you're like, dude, turn this off, please. Take off the weights when done. Absolutely. That's another rule. Just trying to help you out here for when you decide to try to lose weight for your New Year's resolution. You make your way to the gym. You don't make people actually mad at you right as you're trying to start the new year, making yourself better. All right? Let's finish it up with one last answer here. Someone says they're a gym manager. These are generally the main ones. Re-rack your weights, which we've already talked about. Clean up, put things away where they belong. Clean things after use. Work in, have fun. Wear your headphones and be nice to the staff. Be good to the equipment, all right? Don't fight. Don't be that person. Ask questions to the professionals. Just because someone is jacked doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. I mean, they could be injecting themselves with other things other than Ozempic, if you know what I mean. Anyway, let's move on here. Let's play some Guns N' Roses. Here's their latest track, Nothing. Peaches Pit Party right here on K-Bear 101. All right, let's talk about driving. Obviously, the weather is only going to get worse. Make sure to be extra cautious. Don't be that person, by the way. I've been talking about this a lot as of late. If you see someone struggling to drive in the snow and they're going like 15 below the speed limit in the right lane or even in the left lane, they're trying to be extra safe. Don't tailgate them. Don't turn your high beams on and go right behind them and make them even more uncomfortable than they already are. Trust me, as the guy who hates driving in snow, the last thing you want is some like 40-year-old loudmouth redneck screaming their head off at you because you're driving 15 below and they got to go around, all right? Just simply go around. That's it, right? Well, I saw this question, r/answers on Reddit. What state in the U.S. has the worst drivers? I'm seeing here, this is pretty much going to be one of those threads where it's like, hey, name every state in the continental United States, maybe even Hawaii and Alaska. Who knows? But top answer, Florida. Deadly mix of jerks. And, well, I don't know if I can even say that other word on the radio here. So forget that one. Florida, number one on this thread here. A different take on this. Not a state, but this person goes with Washington, D.C. Not so much about terrible driving skills, more about the fact that the city is full of people on assignment from other countries. Each of them probably drive well at home, then bring their ingrained local driving behavior with them. As a result, I find driving in D.C. wildly unpredictable. Here's the thing my girlfriend and I have talked about. She is so comfortable driving in the snow that I was basically her passenger princess the entire Christmas break. Anytime it snowed, I was like, all right, I'm not driving, I'm staying in. And then she was like, well, you need to go to Walmart, though. And I said, okay, fine. So I got in the car. She drove us there. She's excellent. She's a great driver. I, for one, would be freaking out if my car just skidded out from behind me. You know, I would be losing my mind. So luckily, I have her to do so. And any single time it snows from here on out, if she's not wanting to drive out here, we'll just take like a personal day, you know, that type of thing. But anyway. Yeah, I can only imagine some dude traveling here from India going to Washington, D.C. In India, you honk as a way of communication. Not necessarily the mean kind like we do out here, like, hey, move it, loser. But in India, you honk if you're going left, like weird things like that, right? It's totally different. I can't imagine moving from India to here and then trying to drive like that, and you end up getting into a major fender bender. Oh, that would suck. I had something else that I was going to talk about, but I completely forgot it. So let's just move on to Story of the Year. Gasoline all rage, still only numb on K-Bear 101. That's what I was going to talk about. I just remembered during that 3-song break. Hardy right there with Jim Bob on K-Bear 101. In that previous break, if you weren't tuned in, I was talking about states that have the worst drivers. And of course, I grew up in Southern California, so I never really grew up with snow. I hardly ever drove in snow. When I moved out here, my parents were super, super nice. They're the best parents ever. They got me snow tires, snow boots, the whole 9 yards. So I would be able to drive it when it gets extremely bad outside. I still wasn't the best driver in the snow. And now ever since I had that accident back in January of 2024, I know I keep bringing that up, but ever since then, I've become extra, extra nervous driving in the snow. I'm afraid that some other car is just going to hit my car, and then I'll have to go through a whole insurance battle and all of that crap again. The worst part about an accident is dealing with all that insurance crap and dealing with exchanging information. You know, if somebody's petty and won't do that with you, it's a weird thing, right? It's a weird thing we have to do when an accident happens, and nobody ever wants to go through an accident. Which, by the way, if you do get into an accident, you should definitely hit up the advocate's injury attorneys. Just saying, they're going to help you out. But when I went through that accident, I got extremely nervous driving in the winter. So my girlfriend drives me around during the winter time. I shouldn't say drives me around, but when we hang out together, she's the driver. And we were talking about our sort of deal that we came up with, where in Southern California, where I grew up, obviously, that I'm super knowledgeable in how to drive in a big city. Salt Lake City, same thing. New York City, same thing. Orlando, same thing. And she's quite anxious when it comes to driving in the big city. So when it comes to big city driving, I'll be the one behind the wheel. She'll be the one in the passenger seat. But when it's snowy and country and all that stuff, and it's countryside and all that, she'll be the one to drive. It's sort of like our trade. But she brought up a great point yesterday. What if we end up moving to a city where it's not only big, but there's also tons of snow? Who's going to drive then? And I was thinking, I'm like, well, maybe if somehow, for some reason, we moved to New York out of all places, it's so big that you don't necessarily need a car there. I mean, you can still have one, but people rarely ever use their cars in New York. They mostly use the subway. They mostly take a taxi. They mostly walk. So, I mean, I was just reading the news about New York City receiving like 4 inches of snow over the weekend. I'm sure people are not necessarily driving around everywhere in New York, unless you're on like the countryside of New York. But I'm talking about like New York City, where if I were all of a sudden I get a radio job in New York, and we need to move there, I'm not going to be driving around in that snowy weather, especially with all those other crappy New York drivers. Absolutely not. Sorry for talking about all these different online questions on today's show here. Only because the only reason why I'm doing this is because there's hardly any stories out there right now. It's that weird week, I tell you, all these different sites with these awesome stories, they're all done for the year and don't come back until Monday, January 5th. So I'm trying my best to find content to talk about on the show that would entertain you. If it doesn't, I apologize. If you're one of those people that says, shut up and play the music, you got things like Spotify, Apple Music, etc., where you can only listen to music, right? The radio is where you listen to the DJ, and that's why I am here, hosting Peach's Pit Party every afternoon from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., and I figured, why not talk about this? What's a harmless habit people judge way too much? I'm a judger of different things, different quirks that people have, different hobbies they might have. Who knows what exactly I'll make fun of? Sometimes I make fun of things too much, and I know that. And I'm trying my best not to do so. So let's talk about this thread here. What's a harmless habit people judge way too much? Being quiet. They read silence as rude, cold, even weird, when for a lot of people, it's just comfort. Not everyone needs to fill with noise. I can tell you this. The older I get, the more I want to stay away from kids and yappers. Oh boy, do I hate those people that go every 5 seconds. It's the dumbest. It's just so annoying. I'm trying to sit there and all I hear is in the background. It's like, dude, shut up. And then when you tell them to shut up, they keep going. Or that they just get mad and they get even angrier and their noise gets even more annoying and they just keep getting louder and faster. And it's like, dude, please. And then you end up trying to fight them or something. Who knows? Continuing to enjoy things that you enjoyed as a child. Do what you want. That's overall the key here on this thread. Napping during the day. My parents used to get so upset with me when I would nap during the afternoon. In college, I would have classes in the morning. They'd be done around 2. I would drive home and just go right upstairs and take a nap. It was like my recharging period. You know how in Spain they have that time for a siesta for everybody? Like it's a countrywide thing? I remember learning that in Spanish class. Over in Spain, they have time for everyone to take a siesta, a nice nap, and everyone is just in their homes asleep. They should really incorporate that here. I would absolutely love for a lunch break to be 2 hours, 3 hours maybe. You get 1 hour for lunch and then a 2-hour nap if you need it, and then you come back to work. Wouldn't that be awesome? I would even sacrifice getting off later on in the day if it meant for we get to have a nap. Because, you know, you get to just relax during the middle of the day, come back refreshed. I don't know. Sometimes when I take a nap in the middle of the day, it depends on how hot it is outside. During the summer, I never take naps because I'll wake up sweaty and groggy. And if I get up too fast, I get really dizzy and just want to throw up just because it's super annoying to have to take a nap and then you have to rush somewhere right after that. You're like, oh, shoot, I'm late for work again. Or, you know, the boss is about to catch me napping on the lunch break, something like that. But anyway, that's enough of that thread. Let's play some I Prevail Into Hell on K-Bear 101. For those tuned in on the air right now, hearing me live every weekday from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. on K-Bear 101, you're probably wondering why you didn't hear the What the Headline intro. For those listening to the podcast, it won't sound different whatsoever, but ever since we had that issue with the studio, I haven't been able to play any sound bits out of the wall or any intros, anything of that sort. So, yeah, haven't been able to play any music beds either. So there's that, all right? So for the time being, there's no intro for What the Headline. I'll just go right into the story here. You finally get on a plane. You're buckled in. You've accepted you're about to sit in a flying Pringles can for the next several hours. And then a rat just casually joins the flight. This rat took over, what was it, a KLM Royal Dutch Airlines flight from Amsterdam to Aruba. Didn't I already talk about this story? I think I did. I'm so sorry. It's one of those weird days, like I've mentioned. It's that weird week where there's hardly anything out there. And so you try finding something, just something dumb to talk about. And then you go to these different like weird story subreddits. And all these weird story subreddits have political stuff. And I'm like, I'm not talking about politics. You know what? Let's talk about something wholesome here. This Ottawa man, he took his Uber driver tobogganing for the very first time. Dave Nguyen discovered his Uber driver, Nairo Mugabo. Is that how you say it? Nairo Mugabo had never been tobogganing. A few days later, the two new friends were ripping down the Charlie Rogers Place Hill in Canada. Isn't that sweet? I don't know how you bring that up in a conversation. Maybe you see the snow all over and you go, man, it's a great day for going on a toboggan. And then the Uber driver goes, wait, what's a toboggan? Did you call me something? And he's like, wait, you've never done that? No, I haven't. And then they just have a fun day as best friends. Two dudes on one toboggan. One's leaning on the other. Look how cute that picture is. I know you can't see it, but if you look up Ottawa man takes his Uber driver tobogganing for the first time, you'll be able to. If you grew up watching wrestling, you would know who William Regal is. He basically jumped on social media like your uncle at Thanksgiving who discovered caps lock for the first time and started yelling about people landing on their heads in wrestling. Apparently, he's had two broken necks, one in the ring and one in the car wreck, so he's basically the world's most qualified guy to scold wrestlers for doing exactly what pro wrestling literally is. He's out here tweeting, "Stop dropping yourselves on your heads. It's idiotic thinking." Meanwhile, the rest of us are like, buddy, you picked up a job where people literally throw each other around like rag dolls. That's the job description. And Regal's point is kind of valid. Like, yes, neck injuries are real. No one wants wrestlers to retire early. But it's also hilarious picturing a wrestling legend telling modern wrestlers to stop doing the thing that 90% of their moves are built on. It's like telling fish to stop being wet. Some people are backing his message saying, yeah, maybe dropping on your head all the time isn't great for long-term health, which, duh. But let's be real. As soon as someone says, don't do the thing that makes wrestling fun to watch, some part of the crowd is out there like, yeah, but can we get more spinning flip head drops? You know, at the end of the day, Regal's just trying to look out for the youngsters and maybe remind everyone that underneath all the flash and theatrics, wrestling is still a contact sport. But also, if you thought wrestling without crazy bumps sounds exciting, good luck with that. Thanks for listening to Peach's Pit Party, the podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please share, subscribe, and rate the podcast. Peach's Pit Party is hosted by me, Peaches, a.k.a. Brendan Peach, and is a production of Riverbend Media Group. For more information or to contact the show, visit riverbendmediagroup.com. Until next time, Peach out.